It's great. It's great to talk to you, and I miss you, man.
I
I miss
miss you
you.
too. And
I
Tracy, man, I'd love to get out
Yeah.
there.
I kind of feel bad that I got myself into the middle of this, but you know me, like if I think something is true, good, bad, ugly, I'm gonna say it. And and
That's you.
and I will say just one thing that I want to clarify, which is there are two separate questions, which is like, are these various flare proposals good for and fair to XRP holders? And then there's a completely separate question, which is, are these proposals good for and fair to the Flare ecosystem and the health of the ecosystem long term and other Flare holders, people who buy Flare or get Flare in other ways? And they're separate questions. And it could very well be the case. I'm not quite sure it is, but this is the position I've kind of been leaning towards, that this is a little bit unfair to XRP holders and probably not the best for them, but it may well be in the best interest of the Flare ecosystem. And I can tell you, as someone who's been in this business and seen a project from preconception all the way through to maturity, there were a lot of things we thought would happen or we thought Ripple would do in the early days of the XRP ledger that we later either just couldn't do or realized were terrible for the health of the ecosystem. And you face a tough choice. Do you not do what people think? I mean, they're not really promises, but there are statements of intent. I presume made in good faith. I'm not going to hypothesize that like this is a scheme that like if they could plan this scheme out, they would have done it better. You know what I mean? Like they would have made it vaguer and
Yeah.
less like a commitment. And we would have too. Like we said, we do things they really thought, these are things that they really thought. And then they face this dilemma. Do I want to be perceived as being dishonest and not treating people fairly? Or do I want to do what's in the long term best interest of my project? And it's tough for everyone. Ripple expected to give away most of the XRP they were holding within 4 or 5 years, and we expected to do it through giveaways and charitable donations. And it just didn't work. It just wasn't a good strategy. And so we faced this choice of like, do we do something that's disastrous to our project? Or do we get perceived as having broken promises to people? And I know most people in the space don't remember that because this was many years ago. And
I
and this, the
remember.
project is helpful. Yeah, I'm sure you were involved. Like there were things that we did that we felt really bad about. I mean, there are things that I really regret. The only thing that bothers me is like I tried to warn a lot of people about these kinds of things, and nobody listens to me. I don't know if I would have listened to someone trying to warn me either. You know, um, I don't know if you know this, but like I was opposed to the escrow.
Oh yeah,
I opposed it.
really?
Yeah, yeah, I opposed it. And I'll tell you
I
the reason. It's the
remember you
same thing.
saying
It's like,
something about who knows, we might need it here.
right. It may turn out that the escrow commits us to a certain release schedule, and it may turn out, 4 years from the time we begin the escrow, that release schedule makes no sense,
Mhm.
and we can't do anything about it. Now that risk didn't really materialize, and I think in retrospect, it probably was a good thing, but it's dangerous to make promises, especially promises you literally can't break, like in the face of uncertainty. I
Yeah.
also think one thing that I learned is in the early days of XRP, we were big on giveaways and lockups and things like that, and incentivizing holding the token. And what I think I've come to learn is that every time somebody sells the token, it goes from somebody who doesn't want to hold it and doesn't really believe in the project to somebody who wants to hold it more and believes in the project more. And so the faster you get, so people who receive a token in an airdrop, or people who got XRP like in the giveaway, they may be true believers in the project, or they may just be people who are just waiting for what they think is the best selling opportunity. Many of them will just sell immediately because they don't have the mind space to like think about it. They're like, I don't know about this Flare thing. I got it for free. I'm not going to turn down free money, but and there's probably a lot of people selling their Flare just because, hey, I have money now that I didn't have yesterday. Yay me. So I think like the faster you get the token in the hands of believers in the project, the better. And I'll say one last thing, which is airdrops in proportion to your holding make no sense to me. They're just monetary inflation. Especially with this proposal, all you have to do is wrap your Flare. If you put your Flare on an exchange, they're going to wrap it. I mean, wrapping is
Yeah.
one button.
Mhm.
So it's basically just monetary inflation. I don't see how it's an incentive. I don't see how monetary inflation is an incentive to hold. But,
I,
but maybe I'm missing something.
I also, I found another thing that I thought was sort of odd, that that I'm voting. I get to vote on this proposal, but it appears the weight of my vote is related to how much flair I hold, right?
Right.
That at some level that seems sensible, and some level that seems totally silly. Um,
Yeah.
but it's like, oh, maybe I should only vote 10% or something. I don't know. I'm going to vote it because the first thing you got to do is see the process work, right? And nothing makes you improve faster than making mistakes, right? So
You just hope you don't destroy things in the process.
yeah,
And I don't think
and I
I
think
don't think there's any
this
risk of
proposal
that.
number one is literally proposal number one. And there's going to be proposal number two and proposal number three and proposal number four. And so the idea that if this one fails, the whole project goes down, you're like, no, there's going to be a proposal number two, and it's going to be better than proposal number one because you got experience now. And but you've got to start to, if it's really a community process, you got to get the community involved. You got to see the whole process work, and it'll go badly, and it'll go differently than you expect. That's like the lesson learned from Ripple, right? It's like we
Yeah.
certainly knew exactly how things were going to go, and
Yeah.
totally went in different directions.
Trying to plan more than 6 months out. I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing that because you should do that because you shouldn't do something today if you have no idea like what sets you up for in the future. But just understand that any of your plans more than 6 months out are written in pencil at best.
Exactly. Hey, David, I think Janet wanted to say something.
Ooh.
Hey,
Hey.
tell Tracy hi for me, and
I
someday
I will
we're
do
going
that.
to visit again.
Yeah, we miss you guys.
I enjoyed that.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I don't know. Everybody wants to listen to our sickly sweet thing, but
Actually, Bob, we do want to listen to that. It's strangely entertaining.
I just wanted to ask, David, are you going to vote on the proposal? And if so, which way?
You asking me?
Yes.
I haven't decided yet. I'm leaning towards voting yes, but it may not be for the reason that you think, which is I think it's worse. I think yes is better than no for Flare. I'm not super pleased with either. Honestly, I don't think that either is a great choice for the long-term evolution of the network. But obviously, as Bob said, there's time to fine-tune it later. But I think on balance for Flare, yes is better than no. And I don't feel like I should be voting on Flare based on the interests of XRP holders. I know it feels bad that I should be trying to hold Flare to what are perceived as promises, but having been in that position, I want Flare to succeed. I want a healthy ecosystem, and I'm willing to set aside the personal stuff because I don't think. First of all, if I thought that it was fraud and he was trying to get the XRP people to support his project with the intention of abandoning them at the first moment, I would just sell my Flare and never touch the ecosystem again or something. I mean, I wouldn't try to make Flare give more to XRP holders. That just doesn't feel like the right course to me. So I think I'm probably leaning towards voting yes, but it's not because I think the proposal is brilliant tokenomics. I think it's probably better than the tokenomics of voting no, because the tokenomics of voting no is essentially that XRP holders can't get. There'll be a constant dribble of tokens to people who may just be immediate dumpers because they're not interested in the ecosystem, and that's bad. One thing I learned with XRP is in the early days we thought lockups would be good. You would lock up someone's XRP so they can't sell it for 3 years. But then what happens is if 3 months later they're like, we don't want XRP, they just mark their calendar and on the 3-year date, they just dump it. And so what winds up happening is you have all this built-in future selling pressure, and it comes out to be a lot. There's a lot of this built-in future selling pressure, and it screws over the people who don't get any of that. They buy Flare with their hard-earned money, and then they get diluted by people who have no interest in the ecosystem. So putting on my I want the Flare ecosystem to succeed and be healthy hat, I think yes is the better vote. then no. Assuming there's no future changes, assuming it's going to be yes forever or no forever, and there's going to be no proposal two, I think yes is better than no, and I think and I think better is better.
David,
So I think yes.
correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't that the point of contention that caused Jed to leave Ripple, was the handling of dropping XRP?
I think that's his side of the story.